Hi Capricorn, welcome to your October 2021 tarot reading. It's Raina here. On the 6th of October, there's going to be a new moon at 13 degrees of Libra. Now this is at the time when the Mercury is retrograding in Libra. And for Capricorn, this is the 10th house of career. This is the house that you rule. So maybe that central card that I'm about to hold up is going to be about some kind of crossroads that you're at. You might want to think it over. Of course, I think that a lot of Capricorns would if they have some decision that they have to make, because when Mercury goes retrograde, you might find that everything is not settled. And so, but sometimes, obviously, there are certain snap decisions that have to be made, and especially if there's some kind of benefit to you that you don't want to go, oh no, there's a Mercury retrograde. You know, you don't want to get that superstitious about it. So yeah, so this is the central theme, Two of Swords. And I always find it interesting that this person's blindfolded, because, and the moon is a little sliver of the moon above them, because that can also suggest that the person isn't really making a choice with a great deal of clarity, or maybe they're not being honest with themselves about what really is at stake. And so an example that I give a lot is that sometimes people think that they have this choice that they have to make, and yet the two options are both not no-go. And so they're kind of like fooling themselves into thinking they really have a choice that they don't have. So if you're in this position where you have to decide something, make sure that you are being honest with yourself about what is really at stake, and that you're not just sticking your head in the sand or anything like that. In the past position, we have the Nine of Pentacles, and this can be somebody who is financially solvent on their own. So that can sometimes be when I got this in the same position for another sign. I can't remember. I think it might have been might have been Virgo. I'm not sure, but the point is that sometimes people say, oh, I can't leave this marriage because I can't make it on my own, and they really can't. They're using that as an excuse, as the reason to choose something that really isn't good for them, because they can't admit to themselves that they're afraid of doing it. They're afraid of being alone, in other words. And being able to make choices coming from a place of real honesty, to me, yields the best results, you know, because what's the point of even agonizing over a decision if you're planning on lying to yourself? And this, you know, maybe even more so if you are wanting to leave a job, for instance. The Nine of Pentacles can say the same thing. It's like, oh, I have to stay. I can't, I don't have enough money in savings, or I couldn't possibly get another job, or something like that. Or maybe if I started a business, it would never make enough for me to live on. And obviously, sometimes people stay in jobs because they do have to pay bills. But sometimes people stay there because they are afraid of change. And that's the thing to get very clear on, because if you stay somewhere where you really don't have to. Like either you can take, I don't know what they call it, severance pay, or I can't think of the name, but you can get some kind of exit pay or an early pension or whatever. And if you're in a position that it's very stressful where you're working, then to stay there for money seems kind of foolish, because it could lead to other things that are destructive to you, like your physical or mental health. And again, I'm saying if you truly have the money to leave and you still make excuses, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about if you really do have bills to pay. That's a different story. The higher message is the Knight of Swords. So I'm reading this as more of the bigger picture. The Knight of Swords is someone who is very passionate about their ideas, and they can be very like in your face, but they really have a belief in what they, they stand by what they think. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. They're not just going through the motions. They really have thought about things. And there's also like a boldness with this kind of individual. The point is, and by the way, these can be professions like being a lawyer, a writer, a teacher. And so, for instance, maybe this is as a bigger picture. It's like you were born to write a book that people were supposed that people are supposed to read. Think of books that you have read, if you are somebody who is a big reader, that have changed your life or have really influenced your life. I know I've had those books. I'm going to do a video sometime on the books that have really impacted me in a positive way. And think about what would happen if that writer didn't write it. I mean, you would have never been able to be exposed to certain ideas or ways of thinking. So the same applies to you, and maybe there's something inside of you, whether it's your higher self, whether it's spirit guide, angels, whatever, whoever, that want you to do this, and you might be creating these excuses, and that might be what the blindfold is all about. What crosses you is the Three of Wands. So this is in the upright position. I did, when I picked this card, even if it's upright, I read it as the more challenging meaning. And in the upright position, this is about expansion, adventure, going into new, seeing new sights and kind of expanding your outlook and your range of motion. And when it's in the challenge position, you might be in a rut, you might be afraid of growth, kind of like stagnant for some reason, and you need to find a way to free yourself so that you can be more, you can experience new things, because according to the law of attraction, I'm talking about Abraham Hicks, they say life is for the purpose of expansion. I resonate with that. I really do. People have different theories of the meaning of life, and I really think it is for growth. And the only way to grow is to move in new directions. Obviously, you don't want to be doing things just for the sake of the newness of it. You want to do things at the appropriate time. And because when people just want new experiences, they can get to the point where they're just like very flighty, very fickle, and they're not really ever engaging anything. They're just like looking for novel experiences, and that's not growth. That's just distraction, really. So that's not what I'm talking about. And sometimes we get into these periods, and there might be times when it's, you know, it's understandable where we get when we don't feel like we want to do anything, where we kind of are just stagnant. And when you're in those periods, look and see what is going on at a deeper level. Are you simply wanting to gain more mental clarity so that you know what you want to experience, and you just kind of are in either a funk, or you just are divided in your mind, like of what you want to do. These kinds of things are important to kind of get clear on. What's coming in, a perfect card for what I'm talking about, is the Hermit card. And this is about doing some soul searching. And the soul searching can involve self-inquiry, asking yourself as if you are the wise man or high priestess or whatever you want to call it, and you're just looking like you're your own guru, and you're trying to find out the answers inside of yourself. And when there's that saying, be still and know. When you're still, and when you're really tuning into yourself, you can also trace back anything that has happened that has led to maybe a period of feeling like less growth has been occurring. And if you have felt like you've been in a rut, what do you think was the trigger for that? Because I know in my own life that sometimes I find myself in those kinds of periods, and I'm like it's like doing a rewind. I can't even say rewind, where you're trying to say, okay, now I know I'm doing this because of that, but why did I do that? And what, and you're like, wow, okay. So that was like, that was a trigger point. Somebody said something, somebody did something, and we react in a certain way, and we sometimes we might shut down. And understand that even when you're in those periods where you feel like you're stagnating, you're still growing, but it's not showing up on the outside. It might be inner work. And I don't think we're ever not growing. I think that even when we feel that frustration, that life isn't really, that even within ourselves, like, why can't I get going? Why can't I do this? That we're still conscious of that, and that is a form of growth. So even if you're impatient with yourself because you feel like, why am I, like with the Two of Swords, why am I second guessing myself so much lately? I usually have a much more decisive way of dealing with life, and I just feel like I'm of two minds lately. Let yourself be of two minds. See what that means. Check in with yourself, because there might be a reason for it. If you're deciding whether or not to leave a job, there must be some dissatisfaction that you're experiencing on the job. So don't whitewash that. Don't don't push it under the rug and act like, oh, I'm just being unreasonable or something like that. No, really engage it. Take it to the nth degree and see what is going on. And you will be able to figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. The outcome is the Ten of Cups. Now, this is a card that is associated with marriage. So that's an interesting one. When I do these readings, sometimes I'm not even paying attention to the individual cards until I get to them. So this could be even like, maybe that's your decision. You are not sure to commit to somebody. I could totally see somebody who's a Capricorn with the Nine of Pentacles, because Pentacles are earth signs, that idea of, I don't need this person. I have my own money. And maybe even thinking, I don't want this person to get their mitts on my money. Have it even approaching it from that angle, because especially if you are established, you may be looking at it from the perspective of wanting to protect your assets and not wanting to do it. So you're thinking practically, but yet you may have feelings for someone. The Ten of Cups is a card of marriage, celebration, the pot at the end of the rainbow. It's cups, so it's emotions. The swords are being in the head. And sometimes, people say, what is the bottom line? Well, I'll tell you, if you really want the bottom line is, you can't take it with you, right? You can't take a penny with you. So if money is like your God, and that is the way that you decide everything, you have to question whether those are values that are really worthy of you at this time in your life. Because if love has come into your life and you are pushing it away because you are thinking in terms of other things, then that might be kind of sad for you, because you don't have that sense of perspective of balance in terms of how the material and the emotional and spiritual, what places that they have in your life are priorities. The Hermit can be, especially if you have come from a long period of solitude and you have been alone, and maybe this has been a time of great growth, but now you feel like you're just kind of stagnant, that you take that leap of faith and trust. Believe that there are better days ahead, and believe in the power of love. So that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I hope that you resonated with that. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.